I focus a lot on helping chief information security officers. And in that realm, my main market are people that want to become CISOs. I do coach and consult people who are CISOs that want to take it to that next level. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, my friends. I hope you know what time it is. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. Hope you are doing awesome. Hope you are cranking it. Hope you are aligned. Hope you are very clear on what your targets are for the next couple of months, what your one thing is that you're going to do in order to crush it. But what I want to talk about today is a question I get a lot. I focus a lot on helping Chief Information Security Officers, and in that realm, my main market are people that want to become CISOs. I do coach and consult people who are CISOs that want to take it to that next level. I'm often brought in by companies who have CISOs that aren't quite clicking or getting what they need to do, and I'm brought in by the executives because they know replacing a CISO is hard. They know there's not a lot of people with experience, and because they've already invested in this person, they want to try one more time to see if they can get them in the right mindset and thinking and behaving correctly so they can actually interface and be part of the executive team as a complementary asset and not as an adverse asset, which many CISOs who are more technical sort of want to fight the executives as opposed to work with them. So I do work with a lot of existing CISOs, but it's normally when the company is bringing me in to assist them. But where individuals reach out to me is where they're ready to transition. They have the foundational knowledge, they've worked in security, they have some managerial director experience, and they're ready to transition into that Chief Information Security Officer role. And often they're having difficulty doing that transition, getting the job, getting the interviews, getting the offers, and getting that first position, and then delivering on the first 90 days. But in addition to that, because I'm very active on social, I often get a lot of individuals that want to get into cyber. All the time, whenever I'm in cars, because I do a lot of car service, I don't like driving, I like working if I'm going to be going somewhere, and whenever people go, oh, what do you do for a living? Cybersecurity, it's always, oh, my niece, nephew, kid, child, friend, aunt, uncle is looking to get into cyber. What do you recommend? Right? How do you recommend them get into that field? So I figured I would do a podcast on sort of what are those core skills for working and getting into cyber. And to me, it really falls into three categories. And this is what everyone misses. Most people are focused on what we call the technical or strategic skills. What are the skills I need to learn to be able to get into cyber or to become a Chief Information Security Officer? And believe it or not, those are the easy ones. Those are the easy ones because most people know they need that. That's what they're typically focused on. And most people, when they've come to me, have already done some work on reading business books or reading my book, The Network Security Bible, if they want to get into cyber, understand the terms, understand the language, understand what needs to be done. So that is important. But the thing that's important to remember is that when you're looking at being a Chief Information Security Officer, you're really switching from technical to strategic. You're switching from bits and bytes and false positives and packets and protocols and configuring firewalls and IDSs to risk, business, profit, revenue. So it's a different mindset where the information security, those inner layers, the IS information security, is the foundation in which you're providing advice, but you have to remember the outer letters that you're a chief officer. Anybody who's a chief officer, your primary role is to help grow the revenue and profitability of the company. That's what chief officers do. So if you want to be a very effective chief information security officer, then you need to recognize that your primary skill is not about bits and bytes. It's not about blocking traffic. It's not about stopping bad things from happening to the business. It's all about how do we grow the revenue and profitability in a secure manner? How can we use security to minimize disruptions that would impact reputation, that would impact our revenues? How can we go in and stop having to spend $2 or $3 million on ransom payments that directly cut in to our overall profitability? So yes, you are looking at those areas, ransomware, attacks, vulnerabilities, and exposures, but instead of doing it like a security engineer does, which is how do we stop, prevent, or minimize it from happening regardless of the impact to the business, your role is how do we make cybersecurity a business enabler? How can we go in and use cybersecurity as a tool? So instead of thinking about it as we need to do this to hurt the business, how do we help the business to increase that profit and revenue? Now that is a skill you can learn from reading business books. That's one from taking business classes. That's one that you can spend a lot of time. And if you go back and listen to a lot of my podcasts, or if you sign up for my CISO certification, we have a whole section on all of that. So I'm not going to cover a lot on that. And once again, if you're looking to get into cybersecurity, Network Security Bible, there's lots of certifications like Security Plus and others where you can learn those components. To me, those are easy. Those are things you can do on your own. But the two pieces that everybody misses, the two additional pieces. So you have to have some knowledge, strategy, if you want to be a CISO, or technical understanding of cybersecurity, risk, threats, vulnerabilities, the basic language and terminology if you want to get an entry job. So that's piece one. But the two other pieces that everyone misses that gets them in a lot of trouble, the first one is mindset. I'm going to throw a few different quotes at you today. The first one is, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. Most people are their own worst enemy. It looks like when you look at a lot of my clients on the CISO certification side, it looks like I'm a miracle worker. Because you have these folks that have been trying to become a CISO for 2 or 3 years. They've applied to 30, 40 jobs. They either don't get interviews, or after the first or second interview, they get denied. They don't have any offers, and they're about ready to give up. And within 3 to 4 months, they're not only getting CISO jobs, they're getting multiple offers and often bidding wars in order, because every company wants them. It's like, Eric, what do you do? What's your magic? Well, the magic is simple. I change their inner belief. Because if you've been trying to get a job in cybersecurity for more than a year, whether it's entry level, whether it's a CISO, whether it's mid-level, but if you've been trying to get a job for more than a year and you have not got any offers, I can guarantee at least one thing is broken. Now, it might be multiple, there could be other factors there, but I can guarantee at least one thing is broken, and that's your mindset. And I hear this all the time. I was just doing a live the other day, and somebody got in and goes, Eric, I want to get into cybersecurity. I love cybersecurity. It's most important to me, but I just don't believe I have enough experience. I don't believe anyone will hire me, and I haven't been able to get a job for a year. And I always laugh because I'm like, are you listening to yourself? I've actually done this with some of my clients when we're in person. I actually record them and play it back and say, okay, let's listen to what you just said. You basically said, blah, 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 and then I'm going to hone in on. But I do not believe that anyone will hire me because I don't have enough experience. Now, let me ask you a question. If that's playing in your mind, no one's going to hire me because I don't have enough experience. No one's going to hire me because I don't have enough experience. If you're going up, if you're playing a sport I'll just pick baseball because it's easy. Heck, let's go to my new favorite, pickleball. Woo, I just played last night. And my friends joked, they're like, dude, you're the only one that makes pickleball a contact sport, right? Now, so in Virginia, I don't know, in other areas, pickleball is very, very popular. So everybody is opening up pickleball courts everywhere. And one of our favorite places, because it's not crowded, we know the guy, so he lets us go in whenever he wants. He basically took a storage unit and turned it into a pickleball court, which is awesome because it's private, it's quiet, nobody knows about it. But because it's a storage unit, there's walls on all sides. And one of the sides is a piece of tarp, and we thought it was covering a wall. And we're playing last night, and I go for a final shot, and I go run to sort of hit into the wall to hit the shot, except there's not a full wall there. It's a real thin piece of sheetrock, and I proceed to fly through the wall, right, during playing pickleball. So all my friends are like, okay, full contact pickleball, right? Why not? Fortunately, I'm not injured, and the good news is we still won the match. So I still won the game, even going through walls and making it full contact. But the point is, if I'm up there and I'm getting ready to serve, and I'm like, I'm going to hit it in the kitchen. I'm going to miss. I'm not going to hit it in the square. And that's what's playing through your mind. What do you think is probably going to happen? What's probably going to happen is you're going to miss the shot. You're not going to hit it. Or you're making it as difficult for yourself as possible if you're like, I'm going to miss the shot. I'm going to miss the shot. It makes it way too hard. If that's the narrative that's playing, no wonder you can't get a job. No one's going to hire me. No one's going to hire me. So if you're writing your CV or your resume, and as you're writing your CV or resume, all you're thinking is, no one's going to hire me. No one's going to hire me. No one's going to hire me. Let me ask you a question. How good do you think that CV is really going to be? Do you really think it's going to be your best work? Do you really think it's going to portray who you are if you're like, well, no one's going to hire me anyway, so why bother? Like, you're not putting in a lot of energy or effort. And then when you show up for the interview, if all that's playing through your mind is, no one's going to hire me anyway, no one's going to hire me anyway, no one's going to hire me anyway, do you really think you're energized, engaged? No, because in the back of your mind, this interview is a waste of time. No matter what you say, they're not going to hire you, so why even try? That's what's subconsciously going through your mind, which means probability of success drops tremendously. So when I work with most of our clients, I go in, and within the first 5 minutes, I always hear the same thing. And I know it's going to be there. Like I said, if you've been trying to get a job in cybersecurity, whether it's entry-level security engineer or chief information security officer for more than a year, I can guarantee. Now, my attorney said I'm not allowed to guarantee, so it's a guarantee without a guarantee, right? But I can guarantee without a guarantee of the guarantee that within the first 5 minutes of me talking to you, I will hear something like, hey, Eric, I really want to become a CISO. I have the background, I have the experience, I've worked with a lot of executives, but I just don't know if I'm CISO material. Boom, there it is. Isn't there a song? There it is. Right? I know it's there all the time. There's going to be a phrase along the lines of, I'm not CISO material, or I don't think I have enough experience. I don't think anyone's going to hire me as a CISO. So first and foremost, we got to fix that. Because if you're going in already convinced of the outcome, then you're going to manifest and create that outcome. So we have to convince you that you are CISO material, that you are a security engineer, that you absolutely can get a job. So if you're a CISO and you say, Eric, I just don't think I have the right experience, I don't think I'm CISO material, I don't think anyone's going to hire me, my exercise is quite simple. We take out a piece of paper and I go in and say, okay, you said you're not CISO material. Is that correct? Yes. So you are confident that you are not this. You are not this CISO material thing that you talk about. Great. Tell me about this. What is CISO material? And it's funny because most of the time they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what is CISO material? They're like, I don't know. But wait. You just told me you're not. So if you are so confident that you are not something, then you should be able to describe what that something is. And a lot of times we can get rid of the belief where they just made it up. They don't even know what CISO material is. Right? So how do you know you're not something that you can't even define? Then I go in and say, okay, what do you think the core skill set is to be a CISO? And they'll write down the skill set. And then we get that list. We get that list of what they believe you need to be a CISO. And you can do the same thing. If you don't believe you can get a job as a security engineer, do the same thing. The exercise works either way. I'm focused primarily on CISOs, but I want to help out entry-level folks, so same exercise works. So write out a list of attributes. What is it that you believe somebody needs to be able to get hired in that arena? So write out the list. Try to get sort of specific and try to get sort of 15 or 20 items. Like, you don't want just generic, well, you have to know business. No, well, what specifically? Like, what are the specific skills that somebody needs in order to get the job that you're applying for? And like I said, you want to try to get somewhat specific and down to at least 15 or 20 items. So then once you have your list, I look at it and I go, okay, so this is a list that if you have these skills, then you are CISO material and you can get a job as a CISO. Yes, great. Now let me ask you a question. You got 21 items on this list. Like, do you need all 21? Like, if you only have 20, you're not CISO, and 21 you are. Like, what is the percentage here? Do you need to have all of them? And they're like, well, if you have 15, awesome. You have 15 of the 21, great. So now let's go through with a yellow highlighter, and let's see which ones you have. So we go through, and we start marking it up. 95% of the time, when I do this exercise with anybody, they always have more than what they said. Okay, you said you need 15 of the 21, and you have 17. You have actually 2 more than what you said is the minimum requirement. So why is it you don't think you're CISO material? Why is it you don't think somebody could hire you as a CISO? And then you start to see it shift. Oh, maybe I am. Okay, maybe I will. Okay, now they start changing and they start believing in themselves. Now, people always ask me when I do this exercise, Eric, that list of 21, how do we know it's correct or valid? I don't care. Remember, all I need to do is convince you. That's it. I don't care if that list is correct. I don't care if that list of 21 is accurate or not accurate, because guess what? You believe it is, and you believe you're not. So as long as I can show you that you are by having 17 of the 21, that's all that matters. So if you're sitting there trying to go, but Eric, how do we know this is valid or accurate? You're missing the whole point. The whole point of this exercise is to shift your mindset to believe in yourself. To shift your mindset that you are CISO material, to shift your mindset that you are a security engineer. Now, what if we get to the situation where you don't have 15? We go through this exercise with the yellow highlighter, and you only have 12. You're missing 3. Doesn't matter. Here's the brilliance of this exercise. It creates a roadmap. So now I take a pink highlighter, and I say, okay, we're 3 short. We need 15, we only got 12. Which of the remaining 9 do you think are the easiest for you to do? Out of these remaining 9, which ones do you think you can learn the skill set so we can put a yellow line through it within a month or a couple of months? And like, oh, well, this one if I just read a book, or this one if I did this, or this one if I helped. Great. So we highlight those 3. So now your roadmap for the next 2 months is every day you read these 2 books, because you're convinced if you read these 2 books, we can highlight that item. Then you're going to go in and you're going to find friends or family that have businesses, and you're going to volunteer to go in and do mini assessments for them, because that's going to check off this item. And then you're going to go in and present at a conference or start creating videos for social media because that'll knock out this item. So great. Now we have your plan of attack. Here's what you're going to do every day. Here's what you're going to do every week. And here's what you're going to do every month. And then in 2 months, your CISO material, and we're ready to rock and roll. Awesome. So the second important piece is you believing you can. Because if you don't believe you can get a job as a CISO, if you don't believe you can get a job as a security engineer, I can give you all the strategies and skills and everything else, but you're driving with the emergency brake on. It's just not going to work. And then once we shift your mindset and we get you where you are, then you need to redo your CV, redo your website, redo your messaging. Why? Because your CV and your messaging were all done from a position of you're not. So you did it from a negative standpoint, so you probably misrepresented yourself. Now that you have this new form belief, now that you are convinced you are a CISO, you are CISO material, now redo it. Redo it now from a place of power. So now, we have 2 of the 3. First, we have the strategic or technical skills, understanding cyber and business. Second, we have a belief in yourself that you are absolutely capable of doing this. Third, and this, in this day and age, is a hard one, but this is the difference that makes a difference. And I'll give you another quote. If you're willing to do what other people won't, then you're going to have what other people don't. So if you want to differentiate from everyone else, you have to do things differently. You have to think differently. And the third one that's the most important, not only for a CISO, but also for entry-level, huge, are soft skills. You have to be willing to prove yourself. You have to be willing to go above and beyond to get the job done. I have this where we have senior security engineers, very big salaries, and getting them to work is like pulling their teeth. I had one where full-time, I'm like, okay, I need you to stay till 6 to finish this. And his comment was, Eric, I don't work more than 40 hours a week. I don't work more than 40 hours. So if you want me to work 45, I'm not going to do that. Okay, have a nice day. Right? We live in this world where we think that you get to decide on the work. I'm going to work from home. I'm going to work 5 hours a day. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to work evenings. I'm not going to work weekends. Guess what? You're not going to be very successful. You have to have a really good work ethic. If you want to work in cybersecurity, because guess what? Cybersecurity, stuff happens. There's incidents. There's fires that need to be put out. You're going to have to sometimes work evenings. You're going to have to sometimes work weekends. You're going to sometimes have to work more than 40 hours a week. You're going to have to go into the office. You're going to actually have to work. I'm very unpopular with this, but I stick by it, and I have data versus data to prove it. Work from home is the biggest contradiction on the planet. It is being lazy. I always get one, oh no, Eric, I work. Here's my question. If you are working the exact same amount as home as you're home in the office, why would you go in the office? I mean, it's really that simple. I have folks going, oh, Eric, I'm going to work from home today. I'm like, okay, you can take a personal day. They're like, oh, I don't want to use my vacation day. I'm just going to work from home. I'm like, no, it's okay. You have other things that you need to do, so you can just stay at home. And they're like, no, Eric, I'm going to still work. Great, then come to the office. Oh, no, Eric, I can't come to the office. Well, why not? Well, I have that. Keep going. You have this because you're not going to be working, right? So once again, you can fight me, you can get mad at me, you can get angry at me. But the reality is, if you want to be a world-class CISO or you want to be a security engineer, those positions are going to require that you work. They're going to require that you go into the office. They're going to require that you sometimes work more than an 8-hour day. And you just have to be willing to do that. And this is why I urge you, find what you love to do. This morning, I was up at 4:30, doing some videos, doing some work. I got some gym time into. Once again, I have balance. And then I'll probably work till 8 or 9 tonight because I'm doing depot prep because I have a depot later in the week and then I have a trial. But I love what I do. It's not a problem to me to come in the office. It's not a problem for me to put in that additional time. So I know this is something that's not very popular, but I care about you, I love you, and I want you to be successful. So the third thing is the soft skills. You have to be willing to go above and beyond. You have to be willing to put in extra time. You have to be willing to come in the office. And here's the reality. You have to prove that you can go above and beyond, typically before you're rewarded financially. It's just the reality. A lot of people today is, well, if you want me to come in the office and you want me to work longer hours and you want me to be available on weekends, then you have to pay me all this money. And the reality is it doesn't work that way. You get paid a base, you go above and beyond, and then you get rewarded. Or here's the coolest part. If the current company doesn't reward you, other companies will. So if you want to be wildly successful, if you're currently not working in cyber and you want to work in cyber, if you're currently not a CISO and you want to get a job as a CISO, you have to be willing to do what other people won't do. Differentiate yourself. One of my golden rules before I switch to entrepreneur, so I'll probably never have a job for the rest of my life working for somebody else. I'll always work for myself. But when I used to work for other folks, my rule was simple. I was the first person and the last person to leave. And typically with my company, I do the same thing. Now it's funny because when I do that to my employees and I'm like, yeah, I'm the first person and the last person to leave. They're like, well, that's because you're the owner of the company. And I'm like, yeah, and you realize I get paid last, right? So you get paid, all the expenses get paid, and then, right, if we're doing well, I get paid. I don't get a guaranteed salary. You do, right? You get paid whether we win the contract or not. I don't get paid whether we win the contract or not. So just be careful when you go down that road of, well, you're the boss or you're the owner, it's your company, therefore you have special privileges, right? The reality is if you're getting a paycheck, that's a pretty cool thing. And then if you want to get more of a paycheck, go above and beyond. This is the other thing I always laugh when people come to me and they're like, well, I've been with you for a year, I'd like a raise. I'm like, great. When we went in and I hired you, we gave you a salary of X to do these 5 things. Now, you ended up getting too busy and everything else, and you've only done 4 of the 5. I said, so technically, I was paying you this to do these 5, and because you've only done 4, I agree with you. We should adjust your salary. We should make it a little lower. They're like, no, that's not what I meant. I'm like, well, what did you mean? Well, because I've been here for a year, I want to get paid more money. And I'm like, so you agreed that you're doing less than what we agreed to. And in your mind, because you're doing less than what we agreed to, you should get paid more just because you were here for a year. And this is where, I don't know if I'm crazy or the world's crazy, but we look at each other and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, so what are you willing to do? What additional things or responsibilities are you willing to do for me to pay you more money? And once again, it's like talking a foreign language. But what I urge everyone is think from the mind of a business. You're getting paid to offer value. If you want to get paid more than anyone else, offer more value than anyone else. This is one of the reasons why if you look at what I charge my clients, it's much higher than competitors. And that's why I typically don't bid on competitive contracts. Because people go, Eric, we want you to bid. I'm like, no. Because if you want the cheapest value, I'm not the best in town. If you want the most value, I will always go above and beyond. I will do more than anyone else and I will provide more value. But because of that, I'm going to charge more than other people. So just remember, if you want to become a CISO, if you want to become a security engineer, if you want to be the best and get paid premium value, premium salary, offer more value than anyone else. But you have to be willing to come in early. You have to be willing to work late. You have to be willing to work in an office and not from home. You have to master those soft skills, because if you want to be best there is, you have to put in the reps. You have to put in the reps. And this is what everyone misses. We look at all these athletes, and some of them get 20, 30 million a year, and everyone's like, oh man, I wish I was them. No, the ones that get paid the most are the ones that are there before anyone else. They're the ones that leave after everyone else. I'm by Redskin Park. So sometimes when I commute or I do my floating in the evening, I drive by their parking lot. I know their top players and what cars they drive. Why? Because when I come to work in the morning at 5 a.m., they're already at the facility. When I'm coming home from my float at 9 p.m., they're still at the facility. The people that get paid the most are typically the ones that work the hardest. They're typically the ones that put in the most reps. So I know this is probably not what you're expecting. Some of you might be cheering me. Some of you might be annoyed and very frustrated with me. But somebody needed to tell you, if you want to be the best, you want to get paid the best, you have to put in the most value. And that means you have to be willing to put in the time. You have to be willing to do what others won't do, so then you can get rewarded in ways different from everybody else. So just summarizing, if you want to become a CISO, if you want to become a security engineer, you need to have the core skills, you need to have the mindset, and you need to have the work ethic. You need to be able to put in the time that others are not willing to do.